right before this, and then another call, and then jump on this call. Let's go. How we doing, Mike? Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Doing well. I'm blessed, keeping busy, and still love what I do. So this is my playground. So welcome to my playground.
There we go. That's awesome. That's awesome, guys. For I know we'll have a couple people probably rolling on. We'll give it a couple minutes and then we'll start. But for those of you guys that don't know Mike, I mean, we've known Mike for a long time now, and he's done many trainings for us throughout the years. Always brings a ton of value. There's always some nuggets that you're going to take away and be able to apply to your business. And Mike's an expert in communications and NLP. Maybe you can explain. Well, we'll give it a minute. We'll explain once a couple people jump on. We'll explain kind of what the NLP stuff means. But
yeah. Is there anything that you would love me to cover?
I really like the topic that you sent me. Just, you know, being able to, you know, how to speak more confidently to the, you know, people like in situations, consultation, stuff like that, not sound so salesy and more consultative. That's really something that I preach as well and try to teach the agents. But the conversational selling, I think that's a great topic.
Yeah. Over the years, I realized that most real estate agents don't have a sales background. They come from a corporate job. So selling is a whole different experience. And I'll go into a framework on what you want to do and think about your mindset and the framework of having a conversation instead of a presentation.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we see that a lot. Especially, you know, we have some great agents who are great people, great individuals, have a great work ethic. They have great service, you know, but the sales part of it is maybe not their strength, you know, because, you know, they don't know that there's certain ways to say things or different ways to say it. A lot of us just talk how we normally talk, right? And that's not always the most effective. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, and a big element I'll go into is having a framework, but also the mindset. The mindset is kind of like the fuel to the conversation. So if you have the wrong mindset, and I'll share what are the negative things that pop into people's mind and how to get around them if you can, and just how to shift your perspective. What I call framing.
Yep.
And reframe things.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think let's go ahead and kick it off. We have a few people on. Guys, those of you guys that are at home, if you can turn your cameras on for Mike, I would appreciate it. This way he knows you guys are focused and paying attention, because I know he's taking some time to prepare for this meeting. So if you're able to turn your cameras on, please let's get our cameras on if possible.
Yeah, the more faces I see, the more reactions I can see. And also, if I ask you a question, you can nod yes or just raise your hand. I only have so many people on the screen. And let me see how I wanted to share my slides. Before, I spoke with Matthew, and he said he's been in real estate for a couple of years. Is anyone in real estate for less than a year? Just raise your hand if you've been less than a year. Just want to get an idea of the level. Well, it looks like everyone's over a year, so that's good.
Yeah, only a handful that are less than a year.
Okay. Let me see if I can get some slides going here.
Do you know how to use the Google Meet, that little arrow at the bottom where it says share screen?
I'm thinking I'm doing it. Hopefully I'm doing it right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little icon that has like a laptop and an arrow. There you go. All right, there you go. Got it.
So you got the screen? You can see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not familiar with Google as well as Zoom. So I don't know how to just fill the screen, but I just go along with what I have.
Yeah, I think if you click on your presentation mode or something, you should be able to fill the screen. So on
now I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, you should have presentation mode somewhere in there.
Okay.
There you go.
There we go.
Perfect. We can see you.
All right, here we go. On with the show, guys, everyone, guys and gals. And so yes, this is going to be on what I call conversational selling, how to be naturally influential and not feel like you're being pushy, salesy, or needy. That's a big concern with most salespeople, most people. So I'm going to go through some key things. I'm going to go through 3 parts. One is going to be the mindset. As I just earlier, just a second ago, mentioned that The mindset is going to be the fuel of what you're going to project and how you feel during the conversation. And then I'm going to contact or first impressions, if it's on Zoom or Google or in person, some key things you want to do. And then I'm going to go into the sales conversation. And throughout this, a key element I'm going to be covering is what I call the 3 pillars of trust. And I'm going to talk about how to engineer trust. One is going to be trusting you. And the second one is going to be trust in your service, what you're going to provide them, if it's to a seller or a buyer. And then trust themselves. Is the buyer ready to buy a home? Is it something they feel confident to do? So you want to be able to build that trust, engineer it ideally. And there's ways of doing it during the conversation. And you can unmute yourself if you like. Which one of those do you think is the most important? Trust you, trust your service, trust in themselves?
You.
Yeah. Because if you think about it, like a car mechanic, if you trust your car mechanic, if they say, yeah, we need to do this to your car, or you're going to wait another 5,000 or 10,000 miles. You say, okay. You don't say, let me go home and think about it. Let me sleep about it. Let me talk to my spouse. You say, okay, they trust in you. So once they trust you, your service and trusting themselves starts to diminish. It's more of you're their advisor. So it's important to build the trust in you. There's the language you can do to do that. So Enrique was telling me or asking me to talk about what NLP is. So I've been doing training and coaching internationally for over 25 years now. There's some pictures of me in Italy, San Diego, Miami. I've been in Mexico, Canada, throughout the United States, New York, and throughout the Bay Area in different, and also in London and Germany and Italy. And all of it is based on communication skills. And so before this, I was in the high tech field and went from technician into national sales and marketing for component and distributors. And throughout my career, throughout my adult life, I've always been working on personal development. Went through Tony Robbins programs, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, a lot of the old school trainers as well. And I came across NLP through actually Tony Robbins in his first book, Awaken the Giant Within. And NLP, since I can't really see you guys, I'll just explain what it is. N stands for neuro, L for linguistics, and P for programming. And it's originally it was modeled after therapists by Richard Bandler and John Grinder. And they were modeling the therapists and how the therapists were creating amazing change in people, helping them overcome phobias, bad habits, to transform themselves. So it was the way the therapists were talking to them, the questions they were asking, and also reading the clients in regards to are they responding or what's important to them, their values. And I'll go through some of that as well. And so I went through the whole series of training and then being certified as a practitioner, then certified as a master practitioner, then certified as a trainer. So thousands of hours, and over my career, probably over $100,000 of training that I've covered every year, maybe 5,000 one year, 2,000 the next year. So it all added up. I'm a big proponent of personal development. And for you being here and investing in your time, that means that you also value personal development. You value learning communication skills or doing the best or sharpening your tools, as they say, your communication tools or sales tools. So I'm going to share with you some golden nuggets here. Little things you can do, what I call small hinges that can swing big doors, language patterns that can shift the person's thought or their experience with the communication. And on the top of this picture, I have my book, Connect with Anyone in 90 Seconds or Less, which is on Amazon, also The Art of Networking. And then in the middle, on the top, is a picture of me in the little vest with the plaid checkers. Little Mike, was born in Gilroy, and that was in kindergarten. And I put that up there because I was labeled as shy when I was young. And also, I'm a self-proclaimed introvert. I'm sure there's a couple of introverts in the group. I don't go to an event or party and say, hey, I'm here, let's get the party started. I just go there to connect with people. And NLP transformed me because I also had the fear of public speaking. Sometimes I was afraid in front of a group, other times I was okay. And I just didn't know how to manage that. But NLP gave me some reframing, some thoughts. And I later on I can share what I did to use introvert and shy as more of a superpower instead of me feeling awkward in networking events, because I used to not like to go to networking events, or that dull feeling of, am I going to talk to anyone? Am I just going to be there? Am I going to be awkward, or is anyone going to talk to me? So I had to shift my thinking. And so that's why I said the mindset is the fuel of what you're thinking, what you project. So that's my story. And those also on the bottom are some of the medias of NBC and Comcast and Cron and different medias that I've been on. And if you can write your goal, what you want in this session. And also, this is something you can ask your clients that you're meeting with, your buyers or sellers. Ask them to write down the goal that you want in the session. The reason for that is you're taking action, and then you're creating focus. They say when you write down your goals, it increases the odds of you achieving it, but also you start to look at things more engaging. And that's what you want to do is when you're having sales conversations, you want them to be engaging. You just don't want them to be a presentation where you're just talking. So you can't just think out what you want as a goal, if it's to learn how to handle a certain objection, or if it's a certain amount that you want to earn. So this is the mindset. Let me move things around here. So I said, to me, the mindset is your fuel. And there's a myth I want to cover, a sales myth. And the sales myth is, you probably heard this, that we're all in sales. We have to sell maybe our kids to clean up the room. We sell our spouse to go to a certain movie. We sell our friends to get together for lunch or drinks, which is true, but it's actually that element of sales is persuasion and influence. The big difference, and this is a big difference that kind of causes mixed emotions with people. Big difference is you're not asking for money. Once you ask for money, my commission is, or this is how much I'm going to get paid, there's a different emotion to it. And that's where salesy and feeling needy or pushy feeling comes into place. And so there's some things I'm going to cover in regards to your mindset. First off, the reticular activating system, the RAS, it's what you focus on, as Tony Robbins also says a lot, is what you focus on expands. So if you're focusing on it being a problem or they being difficult, you start to expand and think about and notice things. A person could be smiling and you think it's a smirk. You just distort things, and it'll, again, reinforce what you're focusing on. If it's something negative, if you focus on something positive, and you start to notice positive things. So one way to also shift that focus is your assumptions. Assume rapport. Assume you're going to like the person. Assume they're going to be okay with you. They don't have to like you, but assume the rapport. And even deeper is your expectations. Expect they're going to be a nice person. Expect they're going to be friendly. Expect they're going to be great to work with. And expect a yes. You'll talk with confidence. So your expectations, as they say, whatever you expect, it is a self-fulfilling, fill in the blank prophecy. Because if you expect them to be difficult, you will be defensive. You'll be talking to them in a way of they're upset. So you're going to not talk in a way that's engaging. If you expect them to be nice people, somebody good to work with, to get a yes, you project warmth and confidence. So before you get on the phone with somebody, just expect they're going to be a good person, happy to talk to you, and just go with that. If they're not, then you just have to be more flexible. However, just start off with expectations. And that starts to project, as I talked about the engineering of trust. They feel that there's warmth and confidence from you. So your expectations are important to you. Now, the money, your mindset about money and asking for money. And this is something that we've all been programmed. Either your parents, there was one moment years ago, I was in the bank waiting in line, and this woman at the bank teller, had a little 2 or 3 year old son on the counter. And he picked up some money that she had on the countertop and he put it in his mouth, and she goes, no, that's dirty. Money's dirty. So I don't know if that created an imprint in him that, money's dirty. It depends on how many times she said that, but we've all been exposed to things like that. The big one is the movies. all the people with a lot of money are evil and taking advantage of people. And so it's kind of creating imprints in many people of, I don't want to be rich or wealthy. And so it creates mixed emotions. And you have to reprogram yourself and think about money and receiving money in a different way. Asking for money. Interesting. Years ago, also, I'm certified in hypnosis. So with some clients, I do some light hypnosis sessions, some guided imagery, and then changing perspective or a frame. And a frame is simply a lens. Like, for example, an objection isn't a frame. But if you say, no, it's not an objection, it's a concern or a question. It's a different frame, a different lens you're going to have them look at it and you're going to look through. So asking for money, there was this woman, a successful publisher of a magazine, and she had this anxiety when she would sell an ad on her own and ask for money. And what it came down to when I sat down with her, and when she hired me to coach her and figure this out, and then she recalled when she was young, and she would ask her father for some money, or either some school stuff or just an ice cream or something. Her father would always sit her down and tell her the story of money doesn't grow on trees. You just can't ask for money. So over and over, that traumatized her to the point where she was thinking about asking for money. She recalled those feelings. She didn't think about it at the time that it was from her father, but that's what was discovered. And I had to go through some visualization to reframe that so that she was okay asking for money and empowered. So I don't know if anyone here has had that trauma. For me, I didn't have any money to ask for. I had to get my own job. I started working when I was 11 because we didn't have money to ask for. And the fear of rejection, fear of someone saying no, which kind of ties in with the imposter syndrome. And I used to have the imposter syndrome. When I was in the high-tech field, I was one of the few Hispanics in the sales and marketing. I wasn't the only one. The other Hispanics were in the warehouse. And so I had a lot of pressure that I put on myself to the point where I started to get a little twitch on my eyelid, on my eyes. And I wasn't sure if anyone noticed that, but that's how much I think, they're going to figure out I'm not supposed to be here. But eventually I bypassed that. So there's some things you can do to help alleviate the imposter syndrome. I'll go through in a moment one of them. And then the fear of the lack of not having the right authentic frame. And most real estate agents, and I've seen role playing, and I know, sit down with the client, tell them about the comps, and talk about how you're going to market the property. But you want to have some more questions, and you want to, what I call, create a positive gap. So I'm going to share with you the framework, and this is part of it, the mindset. You have to first start thinking about the conversation in a positive way. And then your intentions. People will pick up your intentions. You say, I got to get this client, I got to get this money. They will pick that up. You will project it. So just think about my connection with you is more important than the sale. Be authentic. And then your legacy. Let me see what I got here. Got your why. First, I'll share my why. Years ago, when I started doing training, I've done training at Apple Computer, Cisco, Intel, IBM, McDonald's restaurants, did some leadership communication training for them nationally. And one of the high-tech companies, I don't remember which one, one woman hired me to coach her. Yeah, she had this feeling that she wasn't getting the promotions or being recognized as a leader. And so I sat down and coached her for a month. And on the when we sat down for the third session, I asked her, so how are things going? We covered some exercises, some mindset, some communication skills, body language, body motion. And she said to me, she goes, Mike, I have to tell you, I've been praying for somebody like you. And so, boy, that really knocked me back. I said, praying for somebody like me, because I didn't know who to turn to, who to talk to, where to go. And so that sparked that more passion in me, that there are people out there that are praying, maybe not physically praying, but they're thinking, who do I go to? Who can I turn to? So that sparked my passion. And for you, there are people out there that are praying, who do I turn to that can help me sell my home? Who should I turn to, or who can I go to that will help me buy my home? So again, they may not be praying, but they're out there. They're out there thinking about it and wanting it to happen. So think about your why. And one thing in regards to real estate agents that I also want to cover is the freedom. A lot of real estate agents think my why is to have freedom, the freedom to do what I want, to spend my time with my kids, a soccer practice, whatever it is, vacations, which is good. And that's being intrinsic, what I want versus my legacy. I want to help other people. It's okay to have that freedom, wanting that freedom. However, the other thing about freedom, of just focusing on freedom, is you start to have this mixed signals of, should I take this call, make this call, or will it take away from my freedom? Will I get too busy? So it can create friction. So be careful with just saying, I want freedom. It's more empowering if you think about creating a legacy of helping families, sellers and buyers, and feeling good about what you're doing. And years ago, I asked a couple of clients, it seemed like you were thinking about selecting my home study course. I'll talk about my home study course as well later on for those that want to continue learning. But I asked them in my coaching, you seemed a little hesitant at first. Why did you decide yes? Why did you select me? And they said, I like the way you presented the information. It made sense. It wasn't too technical. It was logical. It made sense to me. And you had that sense I can trust you. So what I suggest to help you with the imposter syndrome, ask some of your clients, why you? Why did you select me? Because you may not know what you're good at. And this will help overcome that fear of rejection and that imposter syndrome, because you're going to get feedback on, they trusted me. They knew I was being authentic and I was there for the right intention. So ask some of your clients, just have a conversation. I'm curious, you selected me. I'm glad you did. And I just wanted to follow up. And that's also the reason why you can do a follow-up phone call with past clients and just ask them, I just have a question. I'm glad I can help you. It was great. I'm here to help you and any friends you have. Quick question is, why did you select me? What was it that I did that you finally said yes to me? So that's one tip that will help you. Any questions on the mindset? Has this been helpful? Yes or yes? Because they don't cover this in sales training. Okay, great. Sales training is all, as you probably know, about script and just being confident. But what does confidence sound like? What does confidence look like? How can I project confidence? Thanks for the thumbs up. And so the mindset is where there's a big missing element to that, at least from my experience. And I've read coaching material, went through sales material, sales training from different people. And this is a big element that's missing that I want you to think about. And if I can help you, great. If you can figure this out and work on this on your own, then I advise you do that, because again, this is the foundation to me, your mindset. Even in communication, when you're going to meet somebody, you have to have the right mindset as your expectations. You can say something.
I just had a comment. I really resonate with the mindset stuff. I always try to talk about mindset whenever I do trainings before we even go into the material. Because the one thing I've noticed is that, like you said, a lot of times these things are already ingrained in us, and sometimes we don't realize we have a certain mindset already going into situations, right? It's like subconsciously, it's all based off, how we grew up or previous experiences. But I think this is definitely one of the most important parts, because if you don't have the right mindset going into something, you're not going to get the best results that you're looking for, and so just even like you said, going into the mindset of, this is something I took away from you before, is going into an appointment already thinking in my mind, they're going to like me, right? Like, that's something small and it's just a little tweak, but I still do that. Like, I took that away from you years ago and I still do that. And that's led to just me having a different vibe, a different energy, just being, just being more conversational and being able to connect with the client, because I'm already in my mind like, hey, they're gonna like me. And then that leads to that, right? And it's helped me win a lot of sales, so I really resonate with that part.
Good. Thanks for sharing. And for everyone else, what you're thinking about, you may not even realize you project. Again, if you think if someone's going to be difficult, you will project defensiveness. And even door knocking, if you're going to door knock and you think, oh, they're going to be upset when they open the door, shift your thinking and think they're going to be great people. I'm sure I'm going to love them when they open the door. And one other communication technique. Yes, Enrique.
Can I ask a follow-up question? How do we get over when maybe you have a client or someone that you've dealt with that is difficult? How do you get over, like, when you interact with them again, like not thinking in my head, oh, they're going to be difficult again? You know what I mean? If they already have a tendency to just be a difficult type of person, is there a way to get over that? Or I don't know.
Yeah, there is. There's a communication technique that we talked about, creating trust in you and them and in the service. There's also what I call creating the ideal client, the way you communicate, create an identity in them. And also it could be the personalities. Some difficult clients are very dominating, like maybe they're the CEO of a company, they're used to taking charge and not asking questions and just demanding things. So first off, I'll share a communication technique for that. If someone's very dominating, this is the language pattern. In language patterns, there's a book that Richard Bandler and John Grinder, the founders of NLP, they wrote a book called The Structure of Magic. And so language can be magical. If you structure a sentence in a certain way or use certain words, it can create a priming effect, a mindset effect in that person. And so with them dominating people that seem to be difficult, what you can say is, Enrique, you probably already know this. We need to price it at 1.5. At 2 million is we're not going to get the traction, the buyers. You probably already know this. A dominant personality will say, yes, I know everything. So they'll tend to agree with you. Or everyone knows that, something to that effect, that you probably already know this is really powerful with a dominating personality. That way, it lessens their aggressiveness. They want to say, yes, I know that. And that's less likely for them to confront you and say, no, that's not right. They want to be that person that knows everything. So that's one language pattern. The other is building their identity. And I'll go into that a little bit more in the conversation. Does that help, Enrique?
Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to use that to disarm people who I already know are difficult or tend to be more dominant. Hey, you probably already know this, right? Because you're playing like into their ego, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I already know that. And then that just makes them more agreeable with you, right? So yeah. I like that. That's really cool.
And also I'll share with you, I have some water here. For those, I know a lot of you are doing Zoom session. And what I suggest you do is instead of having a bottle and then taking a big sip out of it, you create a barrier and lose a rapport. So have a water with a straw. You could take a drink and not tilt your head and put a big, and some people have big bottles. So just a Zoom. Yeah. And so just a quick Zoom suggestion.
Mike, I don't know if you guys touched, I had to step away really quick, but you were talking about something that, like how when you first get into a meeting, when you already have a mindset of somebody, or you have your own personality that you bring there. I want to see, is there a technique or something that you can share with us? If someone already naturally has a personality thinking that they're going to be in confrontation or there's going to be a negative outcome, is there some type of, I guess, exercise or technique to get them in that right frame of mind, right? Is there anything like of that sort?
The right frame of mind when working with someone that's aggressive, or let me clear my throat here. Let me mute for a second.
I guess what I'm saying, Mike, is that I think a lot of people, what I feel is everyone has like a natural personality. Some people are just naturally already feeling they're going to have to be on the defensive or naturally thinking it's going to be a negative outcome. So is there any way that you would recommend someone kind of priming their mind if they already have that natural personality so that when they step into that opportunity, they're not looking at it from that lens?
Yeah. Did you miss the slide on assume rapport and your expectations? Did you hear that? Or
yeah,
no?
I heard that.
Okay.
I just want to see, because I know we have 40 agents, and I know each one of them have a certain personality, and some of them are skeptical, some of them are, they fear the worst, or they look at the worst case outcome, or they're thinking that, hey, I can't charge 3%. This client's only going to allow me charge 1%. So they're already walking into it with that frame of mind. Is there an exercise or something that they can kind of prime their mind to get them to think or see it a little positive in a positive lens?
Yeah, here's a slide that kind of ties into that. Watch your thoughts, for they become your words. So what you're thinking about, you start to then talk defensively, or you talk sarcastically, or you capitulate. You just start to say, okay, sure, whatever you want. So watch your thoughts. If you think they're going to be difficult and you need to give away the farm, whatever it is, that'll affect your words. Watch your words, because that'll become your actions. You'll walk with hesitation. You won't be walking with confidence. Your body language, your body motion, and watch your actions, for they become your habits. After a while, you're going to do that habit of, again, being negative or sarcastic, and then so and that reticular activating system I mentioned. I think you guys, years ago, I showed a video about the gorilla in the room, the invisible gorilla. So when we focus on something, it will always expand. Even networking, if you think about going to a networking event and saying, no, I'm not going to find anyone, no contacts, it's going to be a waste of time, you'll start to pick up all the people that are going to be bad contact for you. You'll start to focus on them, because that's what your mind thinks you want. That's important emotionally. Once you start to say, this is important to me, you start to look at the world differently. What's funny is, that's why when you're going to buy a new car, you start to see that car everywhere. You just start to say, oh, that's important. You look at new ads on the commercials, they're driving. And so positive or negative. So you have to start training yourself. The main thing is just gratitude. And another exercise I suggest you can do is, a lot of people think about the big goal. After I sell this home, I'm going to go and have a nice dinner with family, whatever it is. What I suggest you do is you start to condition yourself with little goals or little rewards. After you make these phone calls and have a good time, and again, condition yourself that it's going to be fun and you're going to be successful. After I do this, I'm going to give myself a reward. I'm going to go off and buy a donut, or I'm going to take a walk for 5 minutes. Whatever it is, as long as you tell your mind it's a reward, it starts to say, hey, let's do some more of that. Let's do some more positive phone calls. And so give yourself a little reward. This is creating a conditioning effect. Same thing with pets. You give them a reward after they do something good, they start to keep on doing it. So give yourself little rewards, and then you can still give yourself a big reward, but you're conditioning yourself to do things, and then having the mindset of it's going to be positive, and then thinking about it, all the things you're grateful for, and then just building it until it's a habit. Your thoughts, your words, your action, your habits. And a funny example is with the reticular activating system. Years ago, my wife tells me, Mike, I think we need to get a new washer. It's turning off and on. It's acting up. I said, yeah, you're right. And so I said, we'll go shop around. And later on that evening, we're sitting there watching TV, and an appliance ad comes on. Look, Mike, the washers are on sale. I go, that ad had been on TV for the past couple of months. She just noticed it for the first time because of her reticular activating system. So yes, your thoughts develop habits that reward you to do what you want to do, and your expectations. Does that help, Jason?
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, it's really simple, but I like how it is simple, right? It's just really put in those thoughts. And I think for me, looking at that, it's just exercising that, right? Continually doing that. When you're walking into a meeting, you have to prime yourself. Hey, it's going to be a positive outcome. I'm going to bring value, all this positivity. You have to speak it. And I think you said it, it's almost like the gratitude. You got to speak that, and then it'll come about. Thank you, Mike.
I think you're muted,
You're
Mike.
muted, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
There we go.
You're, in essence, reprogram your mind. And right now, if you're not having, and you don't want to have just nothing but positive thoughts all the time, challenges are good. It means you're growing, like a seed breaking through the ground. So just don't let them beat you up and then slow you down. Just accept them as a challenge, if that's the way life is, and just move on. And also with Tom Ferry, I know they do coaching, and Mike Ferry, and they have what more of the coaches are accountability coaches. To help you with your mindset, what I suggest you do, because a lot of you may not like accountability coaches, I can do it on my own. So just get a team member person or 2 or 3 and call it a mastermind team. Just sit down together and brainstorm. Hey, what's working for you? What's not working? What do you need? And just kind of be around the people that can help you succeed, make you feel better, and that you're not alone. So instead of calling it an accountability partner, just call it a mastermind group, and then just start brainstorming and just build yourself up that way. Any other questions before I go on to let you read this? Okay. So if you read this, you'll be amazed. And you can read it. So that was a pattern. We all have shortcuts. We see somebody and we start to create a pattern. Well, that person's smiling or not smiling. They must be difficult. So we have to be careful with that. Years ago, I walked into a department store after a meeting, and I just wearing a white shirt, and I just went in to check some pricing. And as I walked out, a gentleman stopped and saluted me. He was walking in with a shopping cart. So I was creating a pattern. And later on, if I have time, I'll share what I think I did that caused him to think I was a military officer, for him to stop and salute me with a gray beard and baseball cap and all these pins. And he just stopped the shopping cart and saluted me. I'd never been in the military, so I just looked at him and smiled. However, that's the power of patterns. How will you even move? So this is from The Matrix. For those that haven't seen it, at the end, Reeves realizes and discovers he's in a virtual reality world, and he sees all the data that's creating it. So you're sending out data of information that people are picking up, but also people are sending you a lot of data of information. You're sending out information that once you know what to look for, and in this, we covered a little bit of what to look for, but that's also part of my NLP course in coaching on what to look for and what to listen for, so you have shortcuts and you start to shift the reality. So, boy, we are. So contact first impressions. I'm going to do a quick exercise. I know some of you have done this with me, so you can just play along or just remember it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the word POTS, just as an exercise, P-O-T-S, and I'm going to ask you to spell it out in your mind, or you can unmute yourself and say it out loud. And I'm going to say POTS, and we're all going to spell it out. P-O-T-S, POTS, P-O-T-S, POTS, P-O-T-S. We'll all spell it out. And then I'm going to ask you a quick question at the end of that for you to think about or answer out loud. Okay, let's stop and here we go. POTS, P-O-T-S, POTS, P-O-T-S, POTS, P-O-T-S. What do you do when you come to a green light? You? How many were thinking of stop? Just give me a thumbs up if you your thoughts.
My dad used to
go
do
at a green light.
You got me.
Again.
I had if I wasn't ready, because I knew it was a trick, so I had to think about it. But I was about initially I wanted to say green, but then I thought, I wanted to say stop. But yeah, got it still. That still works.
Yeah. So that's what I call holistic communication. Some trainers train on voice, how to use your voice. Some trainers train on scripts, the words you use. Some train on body language, and some on mindset. I cover all of it because all of it to me is important. It's holistic. It's not just your words. It's not just your script. It has to be your mindset, your voice, your body language, your gestures. And this exercise, POTS is a word, but it's actually stop spelled backward. So it sounds like stop. There are certain words you can be using that creating a negative effect, a negative train of thought. And then I also did this with my hand. POTS, P-O-T-S. So I was doing the stop sign with my body language and my gestures. And then what do you do when you come to a green light? You! And I raised my voice so like a sense of alarm. Your voice, that part of you that is communicating. Are you talking with confidence or not? And then my facial expressions, opening my eyes, and I just kind of made a facial expressions of alert. So all of those are holistic. It's not just your words. It's not just your script. It's how you communicate holistically, your mindset, your voice, your body language, the questions you ask, the frame of train of thought, the priming. So a couple of things you want to do to create that trust, and then be aware that your communication is everything. It's not just, even if you don't say anything, you're still communicating. Just saying nothing is still communicating. You're disengaged or you're upset or whatever it is. One technique, and this is great trust in you, match and mirror, meaning match and mirror their energy. If they're moving aggressively, then you can match their energy. If they're moving softly, then you slow down. Match and mirror the way they move, and it creates a tribal effect. Like you move, and also just I'll go into their name. The way you say their name, you talk to me and are communicating with me like someone I know, like part of my tribe. So matching a mirror could be their voice, their energy, some of their gestures. And if you're talking to them over the phone, match and mirror their voice. Is it soft, or is it kind of a little more higher, louder? So just connect with them, and then eventually you can just go down to the way you normally speak. So this is a way of going into their world, and you do it already naturally. If you're going to be talking to a little 3-year-old, little Bobby, you kneel down, you go, "Hey, hi, Bobby." You don't say, "Hi, Bobby, how you doing?" He goes, "Ah." So you go into their world. It's just what we think with adults. It's different. You have to be professional or talk to them in the way you normally talk to everybody. But you do this with people. If you're around certain friends, you get a little bit more excited. Other friends, a little bit more subtle. And so think about it strategically now. When you're going to be talking to somebody on the phone, just match and mirror whatever you can, their voice, their tonality, how loud they speak, how soft they speak. And it'll give them that tribal effect. Like, oh, I feel a trust in you. Because I feel like I've known you, or you're part of my tribe. So the name, everyone says their name uniquely in different ways. So say their name back to them the way they do it, the way they say it. Jason, can you introduce yourself? Say it with your name.
Jason.
Jason. And then say Jason. It's Jason. And it kind of went up. Jason. So listen to that. And he didn't say it softly. He didn't say it loud. He just said it kind of easy going, just Jason. So, and there's one gal I know, her name is Monica. She actually has the accent over the O on her name. So she's very sensitive to her ethnic background and how she introduces herself, and even how she presents herself with her name on her email and her website, Monica. So I would say, Monica, how are you doing? So some people are very sensitive to that. There was one woman at a workshop I was doing. She said, "Yes, I introduced myself. I said, hi, my name is Maria." And they go, "Maria." She goes, "No, Maria." "Maria?" "Okay, yeah, Maria." So she just, the rapport and the trust wasn't there. So that's how little things like that. I said, little hinges can swing big doors. And so we're talking about difficult people. This is where you can get into their energy, where you match and mirror their aggressiveness, and they think like, you're like them, they're not going to push you over. But don't get defensive. Just match their energy. Yeah, we need to sell this in 30 days. Yeah, we're going to do that. Let me show you what we're going to do to make that happen. So creating that trust and talking to them holistically, it's and there's a lot more on contact first impressions, on how you greet somebody, shake their hand, how you move around them, and hand them information. This is just some key elements I want to share with you. And ultimately, with trust and trust in you, is ultimately you want to make them feel safe. Think about it. You want them to feel safe, like, okay, I'm in good hands. I trust this person. I feel this is the right thing to do. I feel safe. So the way you communicate will make them feel safe. The way you, again, holistically communicate with them. And I have this testimonial on the bottom. Oh, wait a second, I need to look at my batteries going low. I didn't realize that.
Hey, Mike, it's funny because when you're saying this, I'm thinking of people in my mind already that do some of this, or use their personality and their tonality. One person, if you haven't met him already, is Jim, our contractor. If you've ever seen him out there, like I don't know if he knows this, but he always finds ways to connect with people. A lot of times it's the tonality. Sometimes he'll slow it down, or if it's an older client, he slows it down. He puts their hand on the shoulder, or something like that. Or he compliments. A lot of time he'll just start off with a compliment before he even introduces himself. Hey, nice shoes. Hey, how you doing? I'm Jim. Right. And then it's like the clients are just won over. I don't know, like, but it works. It's funny that I'm just thinking of like these real life scenarios.
Yeah. And thanks for bringing that up. And also the compliment. I complimented everyone here in the beginning. I said, you being here means you want to work on your business. So I gave you a compliment, and you're in the people business. So I suggest, and this helped me overcome the shyness and that being an introvert. Whenever I can, I compliment somebody. If I'm at the grocery store or getting a cup of coffee, I compliment the person. Yeah, hey, I like your energy. Or I compliment them. Hey, I like the color of your hair. It's wild. So I just acknowledging somebody, and that can lead into a conversation. I complimented one woman at an event. I said, "Oh, those are nice shoes. I just don't know how you ladies walk in those high heels. I have a problem walking in flats." So we laughed and we talked as we went to the next part of the event, and she hired me to coach her for presentation skills. So you're in the people business. The more people you talk to, the higher probability that they could be a potential client. So one way to talk to people is compliment them. Just a authentic compliment, and their energy, their tattoo. I've complimented tattoos. They go, "Oh, that's a nice tattoo of a rose." They go, "Oh, yeah, that's my grandmother's name was Rose." So like, wow, that's nice. They did a good job. So just start conversations with as many people as you can. And so you were talking about the contractor complimenting people. He probably just does it naturally. And this again helped me overcome talking to strangers. And now, if you want more happiness in your life, compliment people, make them happy, and it'll just be happiness going back and forth. And the more people you talk to, the higher odds that you will talk to somebody that may and want and was praying for somebody like you to fall into their life to help them, or someone that they know. So thanks for sharing. Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And interesting enough, I read a story about her that she had the imposter syndrome, that she thought people are going to find out she's not really as talented as she is. So it comes in different forms. But in neuroscience, on the slide here, is to talk about inhibitory neurons and excitatory neurons. And I've taken a lot of training and coaching in neuroscience, so it's more on the emotions. Inhibitory are the negative emotions, which create the fight, flight, or freeze. And that's where the traditional sales training focuses on is, how long are you going to be paying rent? And, isn't that bad? Don't you want your family to have a bigger house? And, make them feel bad so that they can take actions, create a gap. But that creates that fight, flight, or freeze that, oh, I don't know if I should do this. I don't feel good about this. This is making me feel bad. And the other thing is, they'll never forget how you make them feel. There's what's called transference. If you make someone feel bad enough times, when they're around you, they feel bad, so they will avoid you. So that's why you have to be cautious with the negative gap. Instead, what I suggest you do is the excitatory neurons, which is the feeling of excitement and possibilities. And with that, you create the gap of possibilities. How will you feel when you have a new house? When your kids playing in that backyard. Just talk about the gap of possibilities. You can touch on the negative, but don't stay there. Just touch on that. Okay, yeah, you want to stop paying rent and the landlord. And here's a good soundbite or a phrase for you that you can say. I heard someone say, when you're talking to a buyer, you can tell them, I heard the other day someone say, renting never feels like home. Renting never feels like home. Renting a home never feels like home. So now you're creating a gap of possibilities. I want a home. I don't want to rent. Touching on the negative, but more on the never feels like home. So now they have that identity that you're building. That as I talk about building the ideal client of, I want a home. So that's just a little golden nugget there. So again, establish yourself as an authority, a trusted advisor, and be influential holistically. I don't know why. On the conversation. So we talked about the mindset and how we're doing on time. Whoa, we're going to run out of time. Are we on a hard stop at 1 o'clock?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody has to go at 1, and if anybody else wants to stick around, we got a few extra minutes after, but we typically end at 1.
Yeah.
Some people may have appointments.
Let me just, for those, I'll talk about this later on, but I don't know why I'm having a challenge with these slides. If you go to mikeaguilera.com/PRG, I have a home study course and a special offer for the group. And there'll be another coaching session, group coaching session tomorrow at what time is it? I think it's 1:30. I forgot, but I blocked it out. So there's either one-time fee of $245 or 3 payments of $97, and you get 3 hours of video, and then 3 coaching sessions with me, group coaching sessions, to expand more on building the ideal client, rapport skills, communication skills, storytelling, metaphors, how to use them. I'll cover more of that later on, but I just want you to have that in the meantime. So this is key. And then if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. My information is on the screen. I'll show it again, or you can, it's mikeaguilera.com, and it's mike@mikeaguilera.com, or my cell's on the screen later on. I'll show you. So this is key. Most scripts for sales of talking to a seller or even buyer, or primarily the seller, you walk around the house and take a look at the house, and you sit down and say, great house, and let me show you what I'm going to do to market it and sell it. And you get ask questions. So why are you selling? Why are you moving? Is there a sense of urgency, or you're just downsizing, or you're relocating? So you start to get information. What I suggest you do before you do that is you sit down with them and you say, well, you can walk around the house and take a look at it and sit down with them and say, well, great home. Before we begin, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Before we begin, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? And that's a frame. That means the sales conversation has not started yet. It relaxes them, and it has them to create an opening to open up to you. And I have the word FOR. You want to get some information about their family for F, O for occupation, and R for recreation, or their hobbies. And you want to identify those and see what kind of gaps, positive gaps, you can create that will connect that to, again, selling their home or buying a home. So if they talk about their family, you can ask questions. Oh, you have kids. So how do they feel about moving? Oh, they're excited. Or no, they're mixed emotions because they're going to miss their friends. And now you can start to talk to them as if you're their agent already. So you can say something like, oh, I'll drop off a book for kids your age for them to see the move as something positive and enjoyable in the journey. So now you can start to have conversations as you start to pick up golden nuggets about their occupation. Where do you work at? Oh, I work at HP. Oh, how long? Oh, 10 years. Wow. And then you acknowledge them and build them up. And here's a question. Here's a question you can ask them that create that positive energy in them again. So what do you like about what you do at HP? And they'll share with you a value. They'll say, I like the people, or I like the help, or I like the creativity, or I like the leadership. So if they like the people are important to them. And now you can add that into when we move, when we find the home that you want, it's going to be a great neighborhood with a lot of great people. So you bring in the people that they want to be associated with, great people. Excuse me. So it's a whole conversation that you want to have with them. And I just want for you to have the framework. And this is important. Then you can, after you get that information, you can start to present marketing the home and selling the home, or what you're going to do. And then again, tied into their values. Voice with commission, people do this a lot. And I won't have time. On the coaching session, I'll go into how to talk about your commission. There are 3 voice patterns. There's voice patterns of just conversation, questions, and authority. I want you to feel confident I'm the right person to help you with monotone. That's just a conversational tone. No up or down inflection. Question is, I want you to feel confident I'm the right person to help you. That's the question. Subconsciously, that holistic communication gets set up as, I don't feel confident about what they're saying. So you want to shift, and you talk about your commission. I want you to feel confident that I'm the right person to help you. So when you talk about your commission or what you're going to do, add a little bass to your voice. Be aware of if it's going up or down. So you can strategically do that. Any questions on what I covered so far? Anything else? And I'll go into future creation, because one thing that slows people down and causes them to procrastinate is the uncertainty. You know, by buy the house.
I have a question. Oh, sorry, Mike, I have a question.
Sure.
So when you start off the conversation with, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself, you sometimes get different personalities. Some people are more talkative, some people are a little more quiet. What if they're like, well, what do you mean? What do you want to know? Like, what if they said something like that? How would you respond?
Yeah, I would just simply go into, so what do you want to know? Well, are you from the Bay Area? You have family here? Yep. I see you're married, you have kids. And it depends on where you're meeting at their home or on Zoom. So you can ask questions as long as your tonality and the mindset of curiosity. If you're curious and you're thinking about wanting to know them, you won't have to think about a script. You'll just be, oh, really? Tell me more. Or, oh, you have family here. Tell me about your family, your kids. Oh, what do they feel about the move? Oh, your wife, she's not in the room with us. How does she feel about the move of buying a new house? Oh, she's excited. Okay, great. But let's get that home for you and get your wife, keep your wife happy, excited. So as long as your tonality is authentic and curious and not, inquisitive, like, hey, tell me, what about your family? It's just more of that soft tone of having a conversation and really wanting to know them. You're right. Some people are a little bit more shy. Other people are outgoing and an open book. We just want to read them and just kind of guide them through the conversation of, family, your occupation, hobbies, recreation. Where you're going to move, is that going to influence your hobbies or recreation? Do you do bike riding? Do you want to be next to trails or something like that? So the more you know, the better. And then when you ask that question, even if they don't answer it completely, you're creating the frame of you're the authority, because you're telling them what to do in a subtle way. Tell me about yourself, instead of them saying, so tell me about how you're going to market my home. You're starting off by giving an instruction, a subtle instruction. And this is creating a sense of compliance. Like, I'm in charge, I'm the authority. So tell me about yourself, without being as an authority aggressive, but just inquisitive, but just asking that question frames you as an authority. And there's other things you can do to create that authority as well.
So you're taking the lead, right, of the conversation, basically from the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. I have a follow-up question to that. Is it better to always have them tell you about themselves first, or for us to tell them about us first? Like, hey, let me tell you a little bit about me and who I am. Because I know some people do it different when they're on their appointments, right?
Yeah. I would suggest you ask them to tell them about themselves. Tell me about yourself, because it creates that sense of you really want to know me, instead of, let me tell you about who I am and how great I am. You're going to be on defense, like, okay, they're going to try to sell me. So wait for that opportunity during the sales conversation. So I would suggest first, tell me about yourself. Oh, they want to know about me. They want to, I feel acknowledged. Someone really cares about me. And they may open up. Some you might have to probe a little. However, just doing it in a curious way. However, I suggest you start it off this way, because again, the frame of authority and the frame of being acknowledged, and someone who cares about me, wants to know about me. And it's not just, and during that process, you can pick up in their voice, their body language, how engaged they are or concerned. You can start to read them. I won't go into body language or reading people, but I'll go into that in some of the group coaching sessions. But does that help, Enrique?
Yeah, definitely. I know, just because some of the people on our team do it in a different way. I always like to ask about them first and then tell them about me. I agree, but I know there's some people I've seen where they just kind of, let me tell you about me first, and then I'm just like, all right, here we go, right? Like, that's in my mind. It's like, I don't want to know.
Yeah, it's all about me.
Yeah. But there's different trains of thoughts, right, on that.
And just to add, I know we're going down this, but I like that. What I try to do is the curiosity is key to me, right? You being curious and phrasing it that way. And I like to ask them questions. And then I go, hey, you know what? Let me also tell you a little bit about myself. I kind of transition so it's not an interrogation, especially when I'm interviewing other agents or potential people on my team. I don't want it to sound like an interrogation. So it is that from that curiosity. And I let them say a little bit, and then I say a little bit to make it more conversational. I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah.
That's my approach.
Yeah. As long as it's a conversation and you just kind of share back and forth. That, in essence, that's what you want to do. And also another word you want to think about is when you're going to meet with them, tell them it's going to be a conversation. Let's meet and have a conversation about selling your home, or let's meet and have a conversation about buying your home. And so frame it as a conversation. That way it blends in with, before we begin, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? So yeah, that's called framing. And
we're getting some more questions. I think this is good. So should we not say, hey, we're going to have a listing appointment or a buyer consultation? Or how should we frame, like when we're trying to set the appointment, right? Should we set it as, hey, when can I come by and we can have a conversation about you selling? Or when can I come by and do a formal listing presentation? How should we frame that when we're booking an appointment?
So right now you frame it as a listing appointment?
Yeah, we usually say a listing appointment or a listing consultation or home selling consultation or buyer consultation.
Yeah, you can always seller consultation conversation. You can always add conversation into that. Like, let's meet to have a conversation. You can still say meet, but if you say, let's meet, or let's have a meeting about selling your home, the meeting sounds very formal and salesy. So you just say, let's meet and have a conversation about listing your home, have a listing conversation, listing consultation conversation. As long as you had conversation in there, it softens it and makes it, the mind starts to process that differently and starts to create a frame of this is a conversation. And even in emails, it was great having a conversation with you about selling your home or about buying your home. So also you can also do it in follow-up emails or text messages, just add that word in there and it maintains that frame and of you being the authority and having a conversation. Does that help? Okay, future creation, uncertainty. This is powerful. And what you can do, because uncertainty, the fear of the unknown, is it right time for me to buy? And so what you can do is project them into the future, and you can say something like, as if they've hired you. So with me as your agent, let's say 6 months after I sell your home, what would you have to experience to feel good about working with me? I know selling your home at the top price is one thing. Is there anything else? So that phrase projects them into the future. So it starts to diminish the uncertainty. They start to think about being positive. What would you have to experience to feel good about it? Well, then you called me back that, we got top dollar and that things went well. And, it doesn't matter what they say. They have to think about the future of working with you and selling the home or buying the home. And so it reduces the uncertainty because they're imagining the future as in being positive. So it's a future pace. It's just putting them into the future. And there's different ways of doing that. This is just one. Does that make sense? I don't know if you do that or not. However, if you don't, I suggest you do it. Just asking them. I just want to make sure where you get the exceptional service. So what would you have to experience to feel that exceptional service, that everything went great, besides getting you the top dollar for your home? So think about how you can project them into the future. I won't have time to go into subconscious filters, but everyone, all of us have different filters and how we make decisions. And I go into that in my home study course. If it's to achieve something, to avoid something, is it a procedure versus a bottom line, or a procedure is different than being analytical. So there's different ways of identifying that, or questions you can ask, or just knowing what to look for. Like in the matrix, you start to hear things and see things, and you can add them into your conversation of working with you. And this is really another good, again, small hinges swing big doors. When you're working with a buyer, this is a question you can ask them. What was the moment? You can underline was the moment. What was the moment you realize, underline realize, that you needed to do this? Needed. So I didn't say, was there a moment? They may say, no, I don't remember. But what was a moment presupposes that there was a moment. they have to think about what was a moment that I thought I need to buy or need to sell. And for the seller, it might have been, you don't have to ask that for the seller, more the buyer. The seller knows when they want to sell, unless they're just thinking about it and they're just wondering. And then you can ask them. But a buyer is usually, what was the moment, buyer, that you realize? The word realize is an awareness word. You're not saying that you just knew you needed to buy a home, that you realize. It softens it and makes them think, oh, yeah, when did I have that realization? And then the word needed, not should, it's when you needed to do this or to buy a home. So that little phrase will reveal some good information and also prime their mind of, yes, I need this. There was a moment, I realized that, and I need to do this. So again, connect the conversation gaps with your service, with the gaps in the positive gaps. Here's a couple of closing. If you want to sell your home at the top dollar, whatever the gap is, if you want to move in 30 days, you sell your home in 30 days, it's if then is a cause and effect. If you want this to happen, then let's get started. And then you go into the final close. Is there anything else you need to know in order to go ahead? Is there anything else you need to know in order to go ahead? If they say no, paperwork. If they say yes, then you answer that question. So this is where a no is a good thing. And people feel more control when they say no, even though it's counterintuitive to many people. I want to get all of the yeses. You can get a no and it'll go in your direction. So if you want your family in their new home, in the right neighborhood or the right school, then let's get started. Is there anything else you need to know in order to go ahead? That sound good? Thumbs up?
Mike, question for you.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on when people say, hey, is there anything stopping you from moving forward on that like close? I've heard people say that, but I feel like it's not necessarily a positive. It's more of a negative.
Yeah, that to me, someone would say, yes, I want to think about it, or yes, I want to talk to my spouse, or yes, I want to talk to some other people. So it'll conjure up reasons to stop. And they will think about, now, why should I stop? I should stop. I should stop and think about this. I should stop. So I would advise not to say that. I mean, I know I've heard some people bring that up to have a kind of a stance of confidence. However, it can bring up a negative train of thought of, let me think about why I should stop. And you don't want them to think about stopping. So thanks for asking. So summary, we went through the mindset, first impressions, the conversation, holistic communication, and ultimately buying something has a feeling and emotion, and you want to create that trust. Here, creating the identity in a buyer or seller, this is where I talk about building, and I go through this in my coaching session. Here's one that you can use. You ask the buyer or the seller, hey, I'll ask you, Enrique. Enrique, do you like adventure?
Yeah, sure. As long as I don't lie.
Okay, good. Well, because buying this home, going through this process is going to be an adventure. So now I'm priming Enrique that whatever happens, maybe his offer wasn't accepted. And so, the offer wasn't accepted. Let's go on with the adventure. So now they're more open and they don't get upset or procrastinate. They say, okay, I identify myself as someone that likes adventure. So I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to accept it. So tell your buyers and sellers, do you like adventure? And they will then, if anything goes challenging, an offer doesn't go through with the seller, you go, well, the adventure goes on. You just remind them they like adventure. So the little things like that. Jim Rohn, work hard on your job, you earn a living. Work hard on yourself, and you can earn a fortune. Design a magnificent life. Yeah, I had the privilege and honor to meet Jim Rohn and actually sit down with him once, a couple of times. Old school, more of a philosopher, but a brilliant guy. So you being here means that you're working hard on yourself, and I appreciate that. And that's why I wanted to share as much as I can with you. And it's through line throughout this whole presentation, it was the quality of your life is impacted and influenced by the quality of your communication. So I wanted to share with you how you can communicate to create those shifts in your connections and get more yeses faster. And then so that's the home study course. It's on mikeaguilera.com/PRG. What does PRG stand for, Enrique?
Paramount Realty Group. That was
Okay.
our old name when we first came out like 13 years ago.
Okay.
Before
Just
we
wondering
showed
if anyone ever asked. I was
Yeah,
thinking, is it
times.
Premier Realty Group? Is it? But you can, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, we're the Premier Realty Group.
Yeah.
And then so there's two options. My home study course, $245. You get all of that. It's on the website. You can review, or for those that want to, and it's going to be almost $300 for those that want to budget out at $97. And it's a 40-day guarantee, money back guarantee. We'll have the first coaching session that I plan on tomorrow at, I think it's at 1:30, and it'll be a Zoom session, and it'll be recorded if you can't make it. If you have any questions, if you want to text me, again, it does have a money back guarantee, and you can cancel it. Even if you're on the payment plan, you can cancel after the first month. And if you receive great value in this short little 1 hour, then you're going to love the home study course and the coaching, because there's a lot more. Building the identity, building the trust in you, and how to build that with the way you communicate and the frames you use. And also just the projection that you have and connecting with more people and building on beliefs. Let me see if I have more information here.
Excellent, Mike. Appreciate it.
So, and then also, building the client identity, 18 most powerful words. I'm going to cover those. But the framework of the 3 pillars of trust, more on networking, storytelling, metaphors, and anything else, any other question that you have. I'm here to help. My big goal is to get some more testimonials. So that's why I'm putting together this. And I know Enrique wants the best for everyone, and I just wanted to make it as cost effective and as valuable as I can. So I'm here to help. Any last questions as we wrap things up?
I think we're good, Mike. I appreciate your time. Definitely a lot of good nuggets that I took away. I took some notes too, as well, things that I'm going to tweak in my presentations and my conversations. I'll go ahead and put all your contact info into Slack so that the team can have it handy. So if they want to get in touch with you and do some additional coaching, it's definitely a great investment, guys, in yourself, especially those of you who are, still needing those sales skills and have some hesitation on your conversations. Like, this definitely can help you boost your confidence and take your sales to the next level. So I appreciate your time, Mike. Thanks for doing this for us.
Yep,
Thank you,
my
Mike.
pleasure. Goodbye, everyone. Go out and help some families.
Let's go.
Thank you, Mike.
Create
Thank
your
you,
legacy.
Mike.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.